This is episode 545 of the Eventing Radio Show, brought to you by Eventing Riders Association of North America.
This week on the show, we talk to American eventing rider Will Faudree, and we also talk to New Zealand eventing rider Lucy Jackson.
I'm Liz Halliday-Sharp, coming to you this week from Hoffman, North Carolina.
And I'm Paul Tapner, coming to you this week from Wiltshire, United Kingdom. Well, Liz, I think we should be interviewing yourself as well this week. We're not only going to talk to Will and talk to Lucy, who have both been on winning ways, but our very own Liz Halliday-Sharp has been on amazing winning form. Liz, come on, blow your own trumpet. Tell our listeners how amazing you were last weekend.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Well, I have to say my horses have been just amazing. And we went to the Carolina International. We had a full effort from our whole team. We had 10 horses between us. I was competing 8 of them. So it was a
10
really
horses?
Yeah, it was a crazy week.
8 horses yourself. My goodness.
This was a military operation getting there. Let me tell you that. And then two of my lovely girls that worked for us, they had a horse each. And I'm not going to lie, I had a really big sleep on Sunday night. I was pretty tired, but sort of the highlight, I think, of our weekend. Yeah, exactly. The highlight of our week absolutely was coming first and second in the CCI 4-star shorts, which is always a big event to win there. And it's one that I've been close to winning, but haven't won before. So it was amazing to, I suppose, break some records, both being 1-2 and also finishing on the highest score the event's ever had. So I couldn't be prouder of both Fernhill by Night and De Niro Z, who finished on their dressage scores in the 20s. And it was a great event. It always is, it's always a great event. But it was spectacular. And then, of course, we're looking forward to interviewing Will Faudree shortly, who I'm staying at his beautiful Gavilan farm for the week before Tryon next week, which is usually what I do. And we'll have a happy household because he finished on the same score as me in the CCI 3-star shorts, but luckily was 1 second closer to the optimum time than I was on 7-year-old Flash Cooley. So, I think he might have been.
1 second.
Yeah.
And that's all it was between the first place and the second. So you didn't take a double win. You took a first and second. You could have almost been, first and second in the 3-star as well. I mean, you had 2 horses in that.
I did, both 7-year-olds, both spectacular horses for the future. And I have to say it was Flash Cooley's first 3-star, and my goodness, has that horse just stepped up. And he's one I produced from a 4-year-old, but Prue Dawes bought him last year and has let me keep the ride, which has been amazing. And she was just in tears when he finished on his dressage score. And what a cool horse. And of course, Cooley Moonshine, who I was giving him a bit of a quieter run after he finished 7th in the 3-star at Red Hills, and also an exciting 7-year-old owned by the Monster Partnership. So I think we're quietly looking ahead to a very exting Le Lion d'Angers at the end of the year.
I was just thinking that. Now, 2 7-year-olds already competing in 3-star. So, they're presumably going to be jumping on a plane soon, coming back across to the United Kingdom, ready for a European campaign for the 7-year-old World Championships, the Lion d'Angers at the end of the year. So that's obviously both of their aims.
It is 100%. And of course, Cooley Moonshine was very close to winning the 6-year-olds there last year. And Flash Cooley was a little bit behind, but he's now really stepped up, obviously. And they will both do the longer format 3-star at Ocala in a few weeks' time. And then they'll have a much needed break. Like I always try and give our horses that run this early part of the season. They'll have a break and then they'll come back to work later in the summer and aim for Leon. So it's just very exciting to have such nice young horses that we've produced from a young age coming up.
Leon, for those horses, they're very experienced for 7-year-olds then. You're doing quite a lot with them quite early, because that means that their long course at Lion d'Angers will be their second long course event. Yeah,
it will. And actually, this is exactly what I did with Cooley Quicksilver last year. He went and won the Ocala, what was then 2-star, now 3-star. And then he had a break and he came back and then finished on his dressage score at Leon last year. So it's sort of a plan that worked well for us. And I think both horses are very ready. They're very, very ready for this next step. And Ocala's it's a flat course. It's usually a nice 2-star. 3-star. I'm still struggling with that. But, I feel like this is the right step for both of those horses. They're finding this level. They're very confident at this level now. So we'll sort of see where we are. But hopefully my my gut feeling is right, and they'll have a good result there, and then they can have a much needed break and sort of settle their bodies a bit before they come back later in the summer in England.
Indeed. So not only were you in your winning ways, you were doing lots of FODs, or finishing on dressage scores, and very flash dressage scores. You've already mentioned that in their 20s. So not only are you getting super flash dressage scores, but you're getting that magnificent and always eluded FOD, finishing on the dressage score. So, Liz, you're on fire. I'm very impressed. And, I think probably the one man that's going to be just as happy to have beaten you just this once is Will. So maybe we should have a quick chat with Will.
Joining us now on the Eventing Radio Show, it is international eventing superstar from the USA, Will Faudree. Will, welcome to the Eventing Radio Show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So, Will, I think it's kind of funny. Probably around this time each year, we like to have you on the Eventing Radio Show to talk about the fabulous Carolina International Horse Trials, which you have a big part of. You're very hardworking to help this event become what it is now. But this year, it's even better because you've taken home a win in the 3-star on your beautiful Mare Celeste.
I did. It was a great weekend, and now it's a super event. I'm very proud to be a part of it. We have a great organizing committee and great sponsorship, led by Jennifer Mosing, who is fairy godmother doesn't even do her justice. She is an amazing support, but really stands behind us as a committee that to put forward. I said it on the weekend. We want it to be obviously spectator friendly and very user friendly for the people involved, but this past year, the last couple of years, we've really put an emphasis on making what the competitors really want, really focused on the footing. We widen the galloping lanes, and we're always trying to improve. So if people have any suggestions on how we can continue to improve, we'd love to hear that, because we always want to try to make it better each year.
Well, it's always been one of my favorite events, Will. And, I have to agree that a lot of emphasis is put on making it better for the horses, better for the riders, better for the spectators. There are great prizes, great prize money. The owners absolutely love it. There's lots of ways they can enjoy the whole event. There's, of course, live streaming as well, and a great cross-country course. I mean, Ian Stark really builds a good up-to-height track. And tell us a little bit about your feel on the 3-star track this year. I mean, it was a challenging competition. There were many, many horses in the class, I think over 50. So what was your take on it?
Yeah, no, I thought the field of horses was good. We always try to get international judges for our event and pair for each of the classes. Like this year, the 3 and the 4-star, we had an international judge and then a U.S. judge that, so that we can do the dressage under really good eyes, so that he kind of go. I personally felt like I came away from the dressage day feeling with a good plan of what I need to work on and why why I'm losing points, where I'm losing them. The cross country, Ian, I mean, you said it, that he built such a fantastic track that really rewards forward positive riding. And, all of my horses this year, I had great cross country goes on them. But one thing that I've always liked about Ian's tracks is even if it hasn't gone to plan, I still feel that my horses walked away better educated. But I thought this year the courses were great. They were challenging, and really setting us up for the CCILs now, whatever they're called.
Get your head around all of our naming. I mean, the sport of eventing is difficult enough as in a name of itself, but now we've got to cope with plussing one to everything, because it's a little difficult being event riders, isn't it? Having to add one to everything. But we digress, mate. Liz was on the call a little earlier, bragging about how many horses she had.
I wouldn't say
event.
Bragging.
And bragging. Oh, mate, you should have heard her. And going on about how good she was at finishing on a dressage on so many of these horses. Now, Will, I do believe you can bring her down a peg or two because you beat her. You did. You know, she didn't win everything, did she? You had the win in the 3-star.
I did do that, but I have to say, Liz is on fire over here, everywhere. But hats off to Liz. I joked around in the press thing on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day it was, that I'm going to be picking her brain over the next 2 weeks because she keeps winning everything.
Thanks, Will.
Well, she didn't. You managed to stop her winning one of those classes. So, it's one of your home events, as you've been explaining. You're on the organising committee as well as competing there, so that must put a lot of extra pressure on it. And just tell our listeners, how many rides did you have at the event at Carolina?
I had 6 entered, and then I have a nice young horse. He was doing his first 3-star, and he just showed his inexperience on day 1 and 2. The 4-star dressage was right next to the 3-star dressage, and about halfway through my dressage test, the horse in the 4-star ring just had a proper meltdown, and which set my horse off. They ended up actually retiring in the dressage on that one, so he got a bit lit up, and then he was a bit stargazy in the show jumping. So I withdrew him before the cross country, and I'm going to kind of go back to the education board with him. But so I had, and then my advanced horse Hans Damp I withdrew before cross country, so I only had 4 doing the cross country. But
so you only got half the quantity that Liz got. See, you said you're going to ask Liz for some tips. Maybe it's just the quantity. You just need to ride as many as Liz.
Well, at least Will didn't fall in the water jump on the last day like I did.
That
brought me down with a hit.
How the mighty do fall. We got a wet Liz.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, at 8:30 in the morning when it was 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 Celsius for those UK listeners, let me just tell you, a full face plant into the water was not what I had in mind. But it's part of our sport, isn't it? Some days you're winning, some days you're retiring, some days you're very, very wet and going back for a change of clothes before your next one. So it's just how it rolls.
It's actually been a topic of conversation over here in the UK just recently about social media. And, we're all aware of social media, and we're all becoming aware that social media is a very filtered environment. People tend to only put positive things on there. And if you're not feeling so good yourself, you go on there and you see all your mates and all your colleagues and everybody else you follow having this most amazing time. Nobody ever really puts on the downsides on social media, and as Will's just explained himself, he had some troubles in the dressage. He had some withdrawals, and because the horses weren't ready, and he's had to go back to the drawing board with some of them. But you had a win as well. So that's all. And Liz, you're exactly the same at the same event. You had this most amazing form of winning all these events, but you also had a fall off in the water jump. So our sport is just an amazing roller coaster of ups and downs. So
it's a great leveler.
Indeed, it's fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic for our listeners to hear that both of you guys have the ups and downs in one event. It certainly puts a perspective on it for everybody else. Now, Will, I just want to quiz you a little bit about the whole organising as well as competing, because I know in America and certainly Australia, it's something that has to happen because sometimes there's not always the quantity of people we need to run these events, or the passionate people are both the riders and the organisers. So there's always a bit of a crossover in our sport. How does that make, on the day at the event, do you have a lot of extra duties as a organising committee member, or is it just focusing on the horses?
No, I kind of go. We have a great committee, and it's made up of, obviously me as a rider. Bobby Costello is on the committee, who, used to ride, went to the Olympic Games in Sydney, and he's and then we have, an owner on the committee, and we have really, good organizers. And they all know, and I'm always very upfront with them. Come Monday of the week of the competition, I have to go into my competitive mode and my competitor mode. But we do so many preparations before the event. We have Jane Murray, who's one of the co-chairs. She is incredibly organized, and really focuses a lot on the fundraising and putting the things together. But I mean, we have meetings throughout the year, and we love hearing feedback. I mean, that's one thing that, like Bobby and I, last year, I reached out. I sent, Liz was staying with me, so I asked her questions. We reached out to Philip and Buck and Boyd and all those guys. What can we do to improve? And then we take that back to the committee. But as far as the week of the competition, I go into focusing on my horses, and luckily we have a really strong committee that I'm able to do that. But I think it's very important with events that you have to have a mix of people in these organizing committees, because Bobby and I, it's very easy for us to say, no, the footing has to be a priority. The grass has to be a priority. Where when you go to the board of directors of the horse park, they're like, well, we want, the spectators aren't going to care if the grass is green or the footing is consistent. They want a trade fair. So, I think you have to have people that are going to focus on different areas of event that is going to come together and put together a really good picture of everything, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think, that's something that keeps improving at Carolina, doesn't it? And it's a great event for the owners and the sponsors as well. And I think that's a big thing that many of the events in the United States could improve upon. All of my owners came this time around, which was really great, and they had a wonderful time. There were sponsor tents they could go to where they could have food and they could have a drink and enjoy all the phases the right sort of way, the way they want to when they haven't seen their horses run for a while. There was an excellent prize giving, complete with a podium and, lots of exciting things happening. The live stream was improved. I think we had live interviews as well. So all these things are a huge deal. And I know that it must be a lot of outlay from the sponsors that help this event. And I think it's amazing that you've managed to keep that going. And, I hope that more riders continue to come, because in my opinion, the ground was very good. I know there was a mix of weather here and there before, but the ground was great. My horses all came out of it very well. We felt it was a good competitive track like we always look for, and real prizes and prize money, which is very hard to find in our sport.
Yeah. I mean, the prize money, I think that's something that events around, none of us are getting rich riding event horses. And, you're not going to get prize money for competitions if you don't go out and ask for it. And, that's an area of focus that, I had an idea, and we tried to get it in the works for this year, but we couldn't quite get it done with insurance purposes. But I brought forward of doing the Carolina Slam, and if the same person, you would have to pick the horses, and the horses wouldn't have been able to run at one level above. They wouldn't have been able to compete above the level that they were at unless it was the 4-star. But if a rider wins the 2, 3, and 4-star, they get. I originally wanted a bonus, do $1 million, but the insurance premium was outrageous on that. So then we were trying to go for $250,000, and there's different ways that, and if more events can start to come up with, I know Jersey Fresh, Brendan Furlong says, if a horse wins the 3-star and comes back the next year and wins the 4-star, he'll give them $25,000 cash. And
wow.
If we can get more events thinking, how can we bring more money into the competitors' hands that isn't necessarily, you could win it on 3 different horses owned by 3 different people. So, it would be a rider prize, and that's going to really, if we constantly as organizing committees and as riders keep pitching ideas to different competitions that can bring more cash prizes, I think we need more of that in eventing.
For sure.
Absolutely, Will. And it's great to hear you talking about a few different ideas rather than just sticking your hand out for more money and saying we deserve it, because that's not going to get us the extra sponsors and the extra money. But certainly we are very, happy to hear that you're really pushing all of these ideas and pushing for the great for competitors and a great event for spectators and a great event for sponsors. Let's look after the sponsors and make it worth their while to give us their money. So, Will, how can our listeners follow you? You're a regular on the show, but how can they follow you? You're on Instagram, are you on Facebook? What's your chosen method of social media?
I'm pretty bad at social media, but I am on Instagram, which is just Faudree W, my last name W. And then Facebook, Will Faudree Eventing. Go and like that page, and we try to keep everybody up to date on that.
The Eventing Riders Association of North America is the collective voice of riders, equine professionals, and owners in pursuit of enhancing the growing sport of eventing in North America. In cooperation with our members, governing bodies, related committees, and organizers, ERA of NA works to improve the overall welfare, safety, visibility, and growth of the sport. ERA of NA, your voice matters for the sport of eventing. Jump in and engage by becoming a member today. Find them online at www.eraofna.com.
Joining us now on the Eventing Radio Show is New Zealand eventing rider Lucy Jackson. Lucy, welcome.
Good evening.
It is evening here, so it's a truly international feel, as always, to the Eventing Radio Show. Me being Australian, living in the UK, Liz being American, who's actually in America for once this time. She's over there in America. Say hello, Liz.
Hello.
There she
here.
goes. Yes, that divide across to the Americas. It took a while there for her to come back
amazing.
And Lucy, where are you at the moment? I love playing this game. You're New Zealand, but you do live in the UK, and you are in the UK at the moment. But whereabouts in the UK are we calling you from?
I'm currently in Woolwich, which is in southeast London, where my other half is CEO of the King's Troop. So they fire the gun salutes for all the royal occasions, the state visits, etc. So it's pretty, diverse chat.
Does that mean we're about to have a big gun salute in the background? Are you in there on official business?
I'm in there on official business, being an army wag, which very rarely happens. And I'm now, it's going to be awful, but if we get to, I think, near 8 o'clock, I'm going to have to sort of curtsy, bow, nod, and drop you.
And run back in and do your official...
In favour of the royal family.
You do your official royal family duty. So we are very privileged that you've left your... you're in the middle of your royal King's Troop function, and you've come out to talk to all of our listeners of the Eventing Radio Show. Liz, we're so privileged.
In black tie as well. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow. We need a photo. We need a selfie that we can put up on the website now.
No.
Absolutely. Now, we definitely need that selfie, but we're not ringing you because you are such an amazing wife to your amazing husband, who is an amazing horseman also. And I will encourage anybody to follow your husband's progress as well as your own. But
amazingly, we're also not married. Just couldn't put that out there.
Okay.
What?
But
Anyway.
you've been doing a little bit of eventing at quite a successful high level. Gatcombe on the weekend, Gatcombe Park, another royal venue there, and the top class, the advanced intermediate. We're still quite old school in our naming of our classes at British eventing. We're not going in 4 stars and 5 stars just yet. But the advanced intermediate was the top class of the Gatcombe Spring Show, and Lucy, a win.
A red rosette. It's so important, isn't it? It's so silly, but no, absolutely thrilled to get the result. It's a cool class. It's a good early indicator of horses that are on form and heading for big things in the spring. So hopefully it's form we can continue.
And Lucy, what is your plan for the spring? I mean, it feels odd to me. I've been eventing my horses since the young ones since late January and then early February, and we're sort of off and running here. And the UK is just getting started, but it feels like badminton is just around the corner. Is that where you will be heading?
In my dreams, I think badminton will hopefully be next year project with this horse. He is a really super smart 10-year-old, and I'm hoping that he'll be Brahman bound. So the CCI 4-star long format in Newspeak was taking a bit of getting used to.
Well done. That was a good mouthful.
For him. Thank you. I tried hard. It took a bit of practice. And he's always been a really exciting horse, right through the grades. He's sort of flashy looking and good moving and good jumping. And my other half, actually, Harry, refers to him as a football academy squad member who is very well paid with a great hairdo, lots of girlfriends, a smart car, a massive fat salary, and has actually yet to score a goal. And this is his first of hopefully many goals with, winning at the weekend. And it's not an enormous class in terms of the size of the fences or the challenge of the competition, but it's still a very competitive class, and it's, as I say, hopefully an indicator of things to come.
Well, tell our listeners, what is this very flashy, handsome man's name? Your horse, that is. And how can, obviously we'll want to be watching his success on his way up to Bremen.
Yeah, he's called Stinky at home, and his Superstition is his proper name. He's quite trendily German bred with quite a lot of thoroughbred in there. I'm a huge thoroughbred fan. I'm closely linked with the racing world. And he was actually backed by my sister, who was full-time in breakers at the time up in Rutland, so middle of England. And she sweetly rang me and said, Luce, it's a really nice one. It's a really nice one. And I think you should try and buy it. So having just sold a decent horse of mine that I brought over from New Zealand, I did have a tiny bit of cash. So I scraped that together, bought him. And then the pressure of owning a really smart one with a huge future is too much for me to handle. So I managed to persuade my best owners, who have owned my very best horse ever, called Willie Doo, into buying this young horse as a sort of Willie Doo understudy. And that he has been until Willie Doo retired from my string at the end of last season. And he's now having a wonderful time doing B100s with my head girl. So it's about time that Superstition or Stinky stepped up to the plate. And
Stinky.
Good way to start.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic story. I like that, and we do like it when owners reinvest and it's successful for them, because it's a real journey. Some owners just have the one horse. Some owners have hundreds of horses, and every sort of guys in between. So without the owners' support, we certainly as event riders couldn't do it. Now, Lucy, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself that perhaps don't know you, in terms of what you mentioned Willie Doo, your top horse, but your day job, is that event riding?
Well, that's a great question, Tappers. That's a lot, and probably quite a long answer. I'll keep it brief. I was lucky enough to event as a child with ponies that my mum was involved in horses originally. My dad is strictly not. He's 6'8", which 2 meters 5, I think. So he's not into the horses. So we were always lucky and encouraged to just bring on and produce and do whatever each horse was good at. So it didn't matter if it was a mounted games pony, or it was into hunting, or it was into show jumping. We just, try and... Oh, did you hear that? Give me 2 seconds.
Are you about to get run over by a lot of horses?
You don't get much more authentic than that.
That's very authentic. Yeah, you weren't lying about your location. That's extremely authentic.
There you go. I didn't press play on the record machine. So then, where are we? We were going back to, I rode as a child. Then I was encouraged by my non-horsey dad to get a proper job. So I studied as a physio with the vague intention that I would eventually become a horse physio. Ironically, in the English system, you have to train as a human physio first to get good at it, and then you're allowed to become a horse physio. While I was at uni in Bristol in the south of England, I met a Kiwi guy who I then chased back to New Zealand. Got married, got unmarried, came home again, worked for 10 years as a physio, not really eventing, but came home with the vague dream of trying to pursue the horses full time, and was lucky enough to actually have a polo pony that took me 3-star in New Zealand and was good enough to be on the long list for Beijing Olympics. Retrospectively, I was miles off the pace. I was not anywhere near being good enough or ready enough, or the horse wasn't of a caliber that was going to be competitive over here back in Europe. But it sort of fueled the fire and got me interested and brought me back to England. And then, as I'm afraid is the sort of necessity with the sport, you have to sell things to keep the dream alive. So I sold him, went to Ireland, bought 2 young horses, one of which took me to my first Rolex in the States. And he then was also sold, which allowed me to buy a half share in Willie Doo, who was a very nice intermediate horse at the time, introduced me to these amazing supporters of mine, the Greenleys, who very sweetly, after a year, I was so excited to sell the half share in Willie Doo because we'd added so much value. They bought me out so that he could stay with me. And he then has been on incredibly to do Bramham, Blenheim, Burghley, Badminton, Aachen, the World Games, sort of fulfilled a huge number of dreams for me. And as I say, introduced me to this amazing family who are the Greenleys, who now own Stinky.
Wow. I think that is absolutely brilliant. I love that story because I sort of knew little bits about you, Lucy. I knew you'd kind of been to New Zealand. I knew you'd been married before, but I never knew sort of all the ins and outs and all your different jobs. And I think that's brilliant. Wow. We love hearing sort of the route that all the event riders go to and how they've come back to their sport. And of course, it's not just about yourself and your other half these days. You do have a little one as well, who's quite small still, isn't he? And you've come back and you're absolutely smashing it in your eventing career, despite being a mother.
It's definitely Evie Wallace. So she is going to be 2 at the end of May, and it puts a new perspective on various things. But I think largely in a good way. You tend not to think that your life is at an end when you annoyingly have a pole because you added a stride. You realise that actually we can deal with these little situations and we can, move on and hopefully do a better job. And in a way, it's readjusted my focus because my business is now largely thoroughbred related. I'm heavily involved in pre-training racehorses for a brilliant national hunt guy called Kim Bailey. I retrain racehorses that are finished on the track to go team chasing for an owner of mine or eventing. I've got a couple of thoroughbreds that I'm bringing on up the grades. And in a way, I suppose that has been a result of having Evie, is that I needed to find a way to make more money in a shorter time frame. I have now not got the time necessarily to be at 20 shows a week, with 30 horses. And I had to find a way to be able to enjoy my eventing and be good at my eventing, because that is still my goal, but at the same time make it a very commercial operation within a limited time frame.
Well, I think that our listeners will be under no illusion that you are achieving those goals. It's fantastic that you can embrace motherhood in this amazing journey that is your eventing career, and have so many other things going along with it, including, as we've heard this evening, you're at this very important King's Troop Royal function, which I am sure, if we keep you on the phone any longer, we will we'll get you shot, and we don't want that, or deported or something of the kind, beheaded. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure
that still happens in England regularly.
Yeah, let's not hold back. Let's just behead the
occurrence if you're not careful.
Yeah. So I presume there is some social media that our listeners can follow you on. Is it on Instagram, your favoured social media tipple, or is it Facebook?
I'm really old-fashioned. I'm still Facebook, and my Lucy Jackson eventing page is probably not as fun as my Lucy Jackson page.
But we'll encourage people to find you on Lucy Jackson Eventing on Facebook, and everybody will look forward to following Stinky's, which is the best name for a horse ever, Stinky's progress.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute honour and a pleasure to be with you this evening.
Thanks, Lucy. It was great.
Well, Liz, I really enjoyed that show. I love chatting to Will, and I love winding you up about the fact that, you let Will beat you. I can't let you how did you let Will beat you on one horse? You had double the number of horses he had. Come on, girl power. You're supposed to keep kicking us boys' butts and all that sort of thing, but no, he got one.
Well, what I said to him was, I think if someone had offered me second place in that huge 3-star on a 7-year-old doing his first one at the beginning of the week, I would have been pretty happy. So it only sort of really makes you upset when you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I lost it by 1 second. But
So hang on a minute. Was it 1 second that you were too fast, or you were
yes,
too slow?
I was too fast because we were on the same score.
You were both under the optimum time.
Yes, but what was interesting, Tappers, is we were tied for third place. And then second place had a problem. First place had time faults. So when I finished, I just thought, I was thrilled the horse had gone inside the time. He'd only done 2 intermediates, and this was his first 3-star. And I was just thrilled that he'd gone so well. And he was brilliant. So I didn't even think that I could have possibly been challenging for the win until my other half texted me and said, oh my gosh, we'll beat you by just 1 second closer to the optimum. And I'm like, so I'm in second place? Cool. But of course I'd rather win, always. But it's fine. If I'm going to lose to somebody, I'm happy to lose to Will.
Stop being such a good sports person, Liz. Especially given that you could have easily gone slower and gone closer if you just had paid attention to your watch. Hey, right. How many seconds faster? I'm not going to let this go because I can. How many seconds under the optimum time were you, Liz?
I'm trying to remember. Not that many, like 6
seconds. You know exactly.
6 No, I really don't.
So you were 6 seconds under. He was 5 seconds under. So you could have been at least 3 or 4 seconds slower, and you still would have beaten him. Oh.
I know how many seconds under the time I was on both my 4-star horses, funnily enough. But
what was the timing on them?
I was actually 17 seconds under on De Niro Z, which was my first horse out of the box, which shocked me because I didn't look at my watch till I was literally coming through the finish flags. I just went because I knew that the time is really tight at Carolina normally, and I just wanted to have a really good positive round and just sort of keep the flow and not over adjust him. So I was like, wow. But I think that led into me knowing that I could go inside the time on Fernhill by Night. So I thought, okay, let's get this done. Let's have 2 FODs at the top of the board. There you go.
Right? Get those FODs. The sport is very much about confidence, though. And clearly, like you've just said yourself, it gave you the confidence for the next horse. So, do you find riding that quantity of horses is helping you?
I definitely think it helps me 100%. Like I always perform better if I'm under pressure and busy and, just going and going and going. I find that it does help me. And I actually had another young horse in the class, and just to bring me down to earth a bit more, he had a little green mistake fairly early in the course, and I retired him. So I had that in between the two. But I think the older I get and the more experience and the more horses you have, that sort of thing, it doesn't wind me up like it maybe used to. Like I knew that the horse, it was just green at a very difficult coffin, probably a much stronger coffin than he'd ever seen, and just jumped over the ditch a bit too round with his eyes looking down and just didn't look at the skinny quickly enough. And I just said, well, do you know what? He's a brilliant horse, and I suppose young horses make mistakes sometimes, and jump one more fence and put your hand up and save him for another day. And then had to get straight onto Fernhill by Night, like literally no seconds, just got him back and jumped on and thought, right, pull my finger out and get this done. So I think it does help just having lots of things going on, lots of opportunities to keep riding and pushing and learning, and the horses are all improving and growing as we go too, and that's part of the sport, isn't it?
Indeed, yes. So going, and going on to bigger and better things in the US before you jump back on some aeroplanes back over here. So tell us what else is going on in the US.
Well, we've got a few big events coming up over here. One that I'm aiming to go to is an event called The Fork, but it is held at Tryon, of course, the hub of the World Equestrian Games in 2018. This will be the first event, I believe, they've had since WEG. So I haven't been here since this time last year. I haven't been there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've done and what the course will be like. At the moment, I've got 3 horses in the 4-star and 2 in the 3-star who probably won't be running cross country, the 3-star ones, because they'll be going to Ocala long format the next weekend. But just the same, it will be busy, and it'll be great to sort of see what that venue has done and how things have come on. I mean, it is a fantastic venue. And then, of course, there's Fairhill coming up. I think that's the week after. So many of the horses aimed at Kentucky will either be at Tryon or at Fairhill. And then we have Kentucky the week before Badminton. So it's all coming on. I've got De Niro Z going to Kentucky this year, touching wood and hoping, keeping fingers crossed and everything. I'm very excited to be going back to that amazing 5-star venue. So It's kind of all upon us now, isn't it?
Indeed, the spring is always an exciting time in the Northern Hemisphere for eventing, both in the European circuit and the American circuit. And back over this side of the pond, the 70 years of badminton horse troll, 70th anniversary this year. And, the badminton, they're doing a great job of building up the excitement into badminton this year with all of the history coming out. There's an amazing cross-country app course walk of, I think it's the 1969 cross-country course. And, anybody, I highly recommend you get the cross-country app on your iPhone and download the app and download the badminton course walk and take a walk back in time to 1969. I think it's 69. And just amazing fences and amazing the difference. But, so much of our sport has changed, so much of it hasn't, and certainly at badminton, that all of those 70 years of history is something that I'm very much enjoying. Badminton taking us through in the build up to badminton. Like I say, I think they're doing a great job of building the excitement into this year's event. And the entries are out now, the 2019 entries for batters, and it's a little bit of a here nor there this time because there's so many riders into this early and so many horses that just don't make it. Pick up a little injury, a minor injury, major injury, whatever it might be, all the way the run up into badminton until the final runners are announced. So, the entries, although there's some buzz around that, you sort of have to, it's a bit of a lottery really as to who's actually going to make it there. So nobody necessarily to note in that entry list other than all of the world's eventing superstars. I mean, who else would you expect to be at badminton? Yeah, everybody.
And I don't think the Kentucky entries are out publicly yet. They usually wait quite a long time to show those, but I actually haven't looked, so we'll have to have a look pretty soon there. But I know there's a lot of great riders coming over, certainly from Britain, the likes of Piggy French, Oliver Townend. I've heard some talk about maybe William Fox Pitt is coming back over, but I don't know for sure. So I think both these up and coming 5-star events will be very, very exciting indeed, and everyone should make sure that they are able to watch both on both sides of the pond, because you won't want to miss them.
Indeed not. Thanks for listening to the Eventing Riders Association of North America podcast.
You can learn more about Eventing Riders Association of North America at eraofna.com.
Find the links to today's guests and the topics at eventingradio.com. Of course, you can follow Eventing Radio on Facebook. You just got to search for the Eventing Radio Show. And we are on Twitter at Eventing Radio.
Listen to Eventing Radio anytime, anywhere with the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. You can also subscribe via iTunes. I'm Liz Halliday Sharp, and you can follow me on my various social media sites, Instagram at Liz Halliday Sharp, on Twitter at Liz Halliday, on Facebook, HS Eventing, and also Liz Halliday, and of course on our website, hseventing.com.
And I've been Tappers in Your Ears, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Tapner Eventing. Thanks for listening.